Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Crypto. I'm your host, Sam, social media lead at token.com. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have Dan Goldman on the show, co founder and CEO of Ultrade. Dan, how are you today?
Tell market up, then happier.
Yeah, it's always a good sign.
At least
Uh,
for this morning.
well, yeah, we'll see how the day goes. Well, it's great to have you on here. When we last spoke, you mentioned that Ultrade is like the Shopify of DeFi. But could you just give like a brief overview about what Ultrade is and what it is that you're doing? What's new, and in a way that maybe like my grandma would understand. So like a really simplified version of how Ultrade works.
Ooh, ramification
Yeah.
of Ultrade. Wow. Okay, I can try. Uh, so, in
We
a
can promise you
nutshell,
a small amount of knowledge if it makes it easier.
well, Ultrade is really doing two things together. Um, and first is a new trading technology that we're bringing to the market called native exchanges, or NEX. Right? So it's not a SEX and not a DEX, but a NEX. And I fear maybe we've already lost your grandma, but um, to think about, what a native exchange can do, think about, for example, trading Sol slash ETH, right? As a native asset trading pair, right? Which means when we say native exchange and native assets, it means uh, no wrapped assets involved, no bridges, right? You can trade, for example, Sol ETH
Mhm.
on a real order book, right? So limit orders, market orders, etc. Uh, no bridges involved, as we said, and no gas costs for trading, no MEV attacks, etc. And yet 100% non-custodially. That's what a native exchange can do.
Mhm.
Now, we're doing this. We're bringing this technology to the market because it's really needed, right? We have uh, centralized exchanges on one hand, where you give them your assets and pray to God that you can get them back. Uh, but the UX and UI, right, and the trading services there are great, right, with order
Mhm.
books, which is much more conducive to proper trading. Now, we have DEXs where it's an AMM, so you don't have proper control of pricing. You can't usually do limit orders, or at least not in the way that we used to on order books. You have MEV attacks, you have high gas costs, and cross-chain trading is terrible and exposes you to bridge risk you know and so on and so on. So we're
Mhm.
taking the best of both worlds and putting it together. Now, so that's the one side of Ultrade. But the other side is, when we started working on it in late 2021, we realized that just because you build the best technology for trading in the world doesn't mean that the users will come. It's
Yeah.
a uh, big world out there. There are a lot of competitors. Everybody's vying for the traders' attention. Customer acquisition costs are insane, and it's
Mhm.
just not viable as a retail exchange. It's almost a non-viable business in my humble opinion. And that's not a business I wanted to be in either. when I was building the technology, I realized that we also need a way to turn it into a real business, which is something that's kind of lacking sometimes in Web3. Um, so,
Yeah.
right. Uh, so I took a harder look at the market, and having been in the space since 2012, I had kind
Mhm.
of like the ability to really dive in and understand what's going on. And it was clear that we have these thousands of projects out there who are tokenizing and thousands more who are coming, right, over the next few years. And they all face the same generic problem. similar problem to one other. And that's okay. You tokenized. Now you got to list your token for trading, and listings are extremely difficult, complicated, expensive as like hell. And at the end of it all, you get the dubious pleasure of having to also send your own users to third-party exchanges. The users that you bled for, the community that you bled and spent time and money to build, now you're just telling them, well, you want to buy my token, you want to trade my token? Sure, just go away, go somewhere else. Which is insane.
Yeah.
You're losing retention, you're increasing friction, you're, not even earning the trading fees from it. You're essentially the uh, uh, the user acquisition pipeline for a third-party exchange.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. So when I realized that, I said, wait a second, we can solve that problem for all these thousands of tokenized projects out there, and by extension, solve our own problem for customer acquisition. And that's where the other half of Ultrade was born, as a B2B2C type of business with a white label SaaS infrastructure technology around our groundbreaking native exchange technology. So this is why I was saying that Ultrade is doing two things that are kind of like, working together, right? So there's the core native exchange technology, and on top of it, you have this SaaS white label infrastructure that enables anyone to launch their own NEX literally in 10 minutes, no coding, no cost, just like that, and be able to provide their own trading services to their own communities, their own users, branded, set their own trading fees, earn the trading fees, and most importantly, control the markets. So they can actually list their own tokens for trading, and they can list anyone else's token. So any existing market in our network, they can list it, and it's shared liquidity. So immediately they get all the liquidity that exists in those markets.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop here because I already threw a lot at your grandma.
You lost my grandma ages ago.
I'm pretty sure. But, she hung in there. She hung in with us as much as she could.
She tried her best.
So, but yeah, I'm sure you have a bunch of questions around this, and I'm happy to dive deeper into it.
Yeah, no problem. You kind of answered the next question already, which was now Ultrade incorporates a native exchange, but how does your next differ from a CEX and a DX, SEX and DEX? Is is there more detail? So if you weren't talking to my grandma, you could possibly give on that, or you're quite happy to just bypass that bit?
You know, just to kind of illustrate the differences, right? So on a centralized exchange, you have an order book, right? Limit orders, market orders, etc. And one little problem, you gotta give away the keys.
Yeah.
You gotta give away the ownership, the control of your assets, right? You gotta give away your soul, and hope that you get it back. Didn't pan out so much for people who gave it to FTX. Didn't pan so much for people who gave it to Mt. Gox in 20 whatever 13, 14, whatever that was, and so many in between, right? You're exposing yourself to inside jobs, outside hacks, inside theft, inside hacks. So many, potential vectors for attack that are not great for you.
Yeah.
So, so Ultrade, if you compare it to a centralized exchange, it's capable of doing pretty much the same from a trading perspective, right? So you have real order books, you can do limit orders, market orders, you can trade, for example, like we said, Sol ETH or Sol USDC, where USDC is multi-chain. You can deposit it natively from Ethereum, Polygon, Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, or Solana. when we talk about USDC, for example, you can
Mhm.
trade, for example, an asset from Solana with USDC or an asset from Ethereum with USDC, completely seamless, no bridges involved in the process.
Yeah.
And yet it's completely non-custodial. So that's really the difference, right? Because otherwise, we support already like 9 chains on our testnet. Mainnet is coming literally any day now. And we're going to be at 15 chains, I think, before the end of the year. That's Ethereum, Polygon, BNB, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, Algorand, Solana, and coming soon, Apta, Sui, Near, Ton, Tron, and even native BTC, native Bitcoin. So you'll
Awesome.
be able to trade, create asset pairs of any asset to any asset from any of those chains and trade them seamlessly, like you would on a centralized exchange,
Amazing.
but non-custodially. Now, if you
Excellent.
compare it to a DEX, to an AMM like Uniswap,
Mhm.
so this is not an AMM. This is a real order book versus an AMM, right? Where it's an automated market maker, but you don't get to control the price really. Um, you know, limit orders are not exactly available. Some solutions provided, but there are a lot of differences between that and a proper order book. Um, and then again, no MEV attacks. People are losing collectively billions of dollars a year. Billions, far more than all the hacks put together. Sam, do you realize that? Far more than all the hacks put together, people are losing to MEV attacks every year. It's insane.
That's crazy.
Um,
Absolutely crazy.
and gas costs, billions
Mm.
in gas costs. It's nuts just to trade on these AMMs. So all of
Yes.
that, we're putting an end to it, or bringing an alternative. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
that AMMs don't have a place in the market. They do for sure, but I think there's a reason why they can't take more than about 8 to 10% of the volumes in the market. These still
Mm.
years into it, right? So all of this does not occur in Ultrade, right? And
Amazing.
of course, again, the cross-chain aspect, trading cross-chain in AMMs is horrible, and the bridge risk there is also insane. So none of that applies when you're trading with Ultrade. Uh, so it's a lot, we're doing a lot here, but I think it's necessary and it's about time. Uh,
For sure, it's a huge step forward in the right direction, something that's sorely needed, in my opinion. Um, you kind of answered it there, I guess, to some extent. Is I wanted to ask, what gave you the idea to build Ultrade? Was like that something particular happened that it stemmed from? You was like, look, we need this solution. Was it to do with, like the Mt. Gox FTX? You saw stuff like that going on, like we need an Ultrade, or was
well,
it
I mean, it
cross?
predates the FTX debacle, but uh, again, I've been in the market so long, and I've seen it happen again and again and again.
Yeah.
And at some point, in kind of like mid to late 2021, uh, look, I was looking at, hey, what do I want to do next in this space, right? And I was taking a hard look at what's going on. DeFi summer just happened, shortly before. Uh,
Mhm.
things were very interesting, but I don't like doing me too's. I don't like, copycatting uh, stuff that already exists. There's no point in it. And at the time, we were seeing it was, swap protocols. AMMs were coming out, 10 of them a day. There was Uniswap, SushiSwap, uh, this swap, that swap, whatever swap. At some point, it became, and I think I said it previously in another talk. I think,
Yeah.
it felt like everybody was going to. Now I'm just the same AMM with a pink hat on top. Come trade with me. You know, what's the point? So there was, it felt like we weren't moving in the right direction. Um, and I said, okay, if I'm doing something, I'm doing something different. something that solves a real problem that hasn't been addressed. That's really what drove me to do it, because we all knew the problems, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, but they weren't being addressed, uh, in my opinion, in the right way, and that's what set the path for building Ultrade.
And with Ultrade, how scalable is it? With obviously new chains coming around all the time, I'm sure we're still set for some more that we've never even heard of yet that are in the makes. How seamlessly will Ultrade be able to incorporate all current ones and new ones coming along that we get to know about?
So scalability is kind of like a different aspect of it, right? So just how expandable it is
Yeah,
versus how scalable, right? So
yeah,
uh, from an expansion perspective to new chains, uh, we are able to integrate new chains typically as long as they have some generic message passing capabilities, so some interoperability, right? Not bridges, but rather messaging
okay,
between chains. Um, so there are different, protocols out there that we utilize for messaging, like Wormhole, like Layer Zero. I want to clarify, we use them for messaging, not,
mm,
to pass information, data between our contracts, but not to bridge assets
mm,
in any way, shape, or form. So, uh, so as long as a chain has some GMP solution, preferably Wormhole or Layer Zero, we can integrate with it fairly simply and quickly. If it's an EVM chain, it's really much easier. If it's non-EVM, takes some more doing. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely expandable. Uh, and you'll notice that I said that we use GMP from other providers because as a company, you got to have a focus. You can't do everything. If you don't, I'm not going to build my own GMP. Doesn't make sense. There are good solutions for GMP in the market, and it's high time that companies start, use each other to build stuff rather than try to do everything themselves. It just doesn't make sense. We also don't, for security purposes, not only do we not bridge asset, by the way, we also don't run our own chain, right? So everything we do is actually on public chains. The whole system runs on public chains using their security capabilities. We're not exposing our users like some trading solutions do. We do not expose our users to risks of having our own chain, our own that brings so many new risks into the mix. So we don't do that. And on a scalability consideration here, or uh, we can, I mean, you get the speed and capabilities of a centralized exchange here, right? And throughput. But and even for settlements on chain, the way we built the system, we can literally support thousands of trade settlements per second. Uh, so which if we ever got to that amount of actual trades, I'm not talking about orders we can support more, but actual amount of trades per second, that's
huge, yeah.
Binance level. If you have sustained thousands of trades per second, so um, yeah, we're very scalable.
So one of the other questions I wanted to ask you is quite simply, why Algorand? What made you choose Algorand and start there?
You're asking why Algorand is. Everybody knows that Algorand is part of the mix here, but uh, Ultrade utilizes Algorand as part of our backend, right? So uh, settlements happen on Algorand. Uh, it's kind of like where the core logic of the exchange system of the platform lives, but users don't know that. Users don't interact with it. They don't care, right? It doesn't affect their activity. They don't need an Algorand wallet in order to trade on Ultrade. So again, you can trade Sol with USDC or Sol ETH or ETH ARB, whatever, right? Any kind of combination of tokens from different chains. Um, Never having even heard of Algorand or interacted with it ever.
Yeah.
But as part of our backend, the reason why we do settlements there on Algorand is that it is highly secure, highly performant, and super uber duper uh, um, stable. So, you know, the Algorand chain has been live on mainnet slightly even longer than Solana, I think, or just about a similar time. They have had since then zero downtime. Absolute zero. Not a little bit, zero.
None whatsoever. Yeah, it's amazing.
And considering all the progress that they've made, and upgrades and so on, having been able to do that and scale up, Algorand itself is highly performant. I think at this point they've proven in mainnet even 10,000 TPS sustained, which is insane. And this is, by the way, and there's a lot of mis information in the market about this stuff, but this doesn't include any kind of protocol communication type of transactions, etc. No, these are net actual user transactions. Okay, it
Yeah.
doesn't include inner transactions, but that's part of an app, the way an app works. So it is an actual transaction, right? So um, to serve the needs of a user, right? So it is extremely performant. It's very scalable, uh, cheap too, very cheap. So costs for settlements are literally fractions of a cent. So it all just and the security, single block finality, that's real, you know. Um, all of that led us to choose it as a backend. But again, from a user perspective, makes no difference, right? You can deposit your assets from Ethereum, from Polygon, from Avalanche, Solana, whatever, and of course Algorand too. Um, Trade them in a trading pair, across different chains, and never having known that Algorand was part of the backend functionality for on-chain settlements.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. So, is there any like immediate Ultrade like news, events, releases that are happening within like the next month, like major turning points for you?
Well, yeah, I mean September. We were hoping for August, but everything takes longer. Uh, so in September, our mainnet is going to come.
Awesome.
It's been a long road.
Hmm.
We already have something like 60 white label partners, who signed up with us and are planning to launch their own native exchanges once mainnet is ready. We're in talks with a bunch more, like probably more than 100 more who are interested. Um, we have several market makers who are integrating with the platform already to bring liquidity uh, and market making services to projects who launch an exchange and self-list their token for trading, right? So there will be market makers available to provide them services there. Um, we have a points program. It's already live, but it's actually going to become much more substantial when mainnet comes out. Um, Including also a white label solution. So we're turning our own points program that we built into a white label product that is available to all of our partners. So any partner of ours, will be able to launch not just an exchange, but also their own complete, uh, point system as well. Um, what else? Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing is that mainnet is coming in. I mean, we're now getting close to the end of August when we're talking. I'm not sure when this will be live, but uh, in September, Mainnet is going to be out. Partners are going to start launching, and it's off to the races.
Well, that about rounds it up on my end. Unless there's anything else you want to say or plug before we get out of here. That felt like a very superb way of finishing from you, I must say.
No, I think we covered, kind of like the
Mhm.
the core of what Ultrade is,
Good.
what's going on. I encourage anyone who wants to have a native exchange, be able to self-launch their token, have a point system, whatever it is. I encourage them to go to a website, reach out to us. There's a form you can fill. Um, and if you're a project, we have partners who are DeFi protocols, NFT, GameFi, RWA, launchpads, multiple launchpads who are planning to launch their own native exchanges. Even KOLs, by the way, we have some KOLs who have, some of them, millions of followers, some of them 10, 20, 50,000, who they want to have their own exchange brand because they want to build something for themselves rather than send their followers to a third party exchange. So anyone who has an audience is welcome to join the pack. You know, we'd be happy to work with people.
Yeah, definitely. So head over there. That was a fantastic plug. Appreciate it. And of course, absolutely appreciate your time today. And we definitely should do a catch up one of where you are come end of September with mainnet and everything else. It'd be great to have you back on.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today. And I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Ciao.